Welcome, my name is Barney Reese. I'm reading you How Blessed You Are in God's Promises. I am the author, and I'm going to read you part 2 of Joy, Your Joy. I believe is what it was. Yeah. This is quite a long chapter, and it will tell you a lot. Prostitution is the most dangerous profession around. You can catch a sexual disease, you'll be shot or killed or maimed for life. Worse, AIDS. A condom is not the safest protection. And if you want porn, $1 billion business that are only tested only once a month. Some porn stars are drug addicts. They take drugs as they can perform. The men are not paid as much as the women unless they go gay porn. They are degrading, and where sex once pleasurable for you and your partner, it has just become a job. Now you see others as just a meal ticket, and eventually you become numb. I'm not here to bash you or cause you harm. But if you want to see the harm that porn is doing and read statistics, just look it up. If you're in porn or prostitute, get yourself some help and ask Jesus Christ, the creator of the universe, to help you. Just remember, you have to pray to Jesus to talk to the creator of the universe, according to the Christian faith. I highly advise that you build a relationship with Jesus Christ and ask for help, the creator, before it is too late. As you get a sexual transmitted disease, start taking drugs to continue living in shame or just lose your self-esteem. The choice is yours, but remember, no matter what you're doing or where you go, the creator of the universe is there. And when you pray to Jesus Christ, the Son, the Holy Spirit, you're praying to the Creator, because the Son died and became the high priest forever. Because of his sacrifice, we can call the Holy Spirit day or night. He's on the right hand of the Father, basically. The thing I want you to know is the Creator of the universe loves you more than you will ever comprehend or fathom. He knows you better than you know yourself, and where you think you are hopeless, but you are not. You are the creator of creation, and he loves you more than you will ever know or comprehend. He has a plan, and may not be the way you planned, but nevertheless, it's a plan and a way out besides taking your own life. The next subject is drug addiction. I do not believe in any drug addict woke up and said, I want to be an addict. This is my dream. This happens gradually, and as the tolerance builds up to get the same effect, whether it be prescribed medication, street drugs, or alcohol, go get yourself some help before it's too late. See, the great verse is not going to help you till you make the effort to help yourself and mean it. I guess my addiction was cigarettes. It took me an upper respiratory infection, sinus infection at the same time to make me stop, but I finally stopped. Most people with addiction, whether in porn, drugs, or alcohol, will not want to stop till they hit rock bottom. And they are almost dead. As your brain gets used to the drug, it builds a tolerance and slowly takes over. I wish I could say it gets better with time, but once you become addicted to something, it will take prayer and time to heal. Here's something you must understand. An addict only has one mindset: drugs, water, and maybe food. Just as a crocodile has a mindset: food and water. Maybe produce young. A drug addict has the same mindset. The addiction takes over, and before long, where this person was a fine, upstanding human being, they are not. Just an addict. They will do whatever they have to get their fix. Some drugs, after just one use, they are addicted. I was not the addict, but I lived with one. And studying the Bible for over 10 years, I also learned about demon possession as well. I watched a demon being taken out of my wife after taking her to Maranatha Church. I remember praising and singing to the Lord, and then I started praying for her. See, my wife was my best friend. I met her before when I was only 17 and she was 13. So when we started dating, she was drinking heavily and taking Xanax, Lortab, and Soma. And I would watch her drink until she would collapse on the floor and her eyes would roll on the back of her head. And that was 10 years later. I had always cared for her, but I did not want to see her die. I had just found God after 31 years. I had only been single, and I met Stephanie Woodham. She was beautiful. She told me about her prescribed medication and how she was drinking a 12-pack a day. She was always going through a divorce, and she asked if she could stay with me and my son. I decided to wait until she was divorced before having any sexual contact, and maybe if I would have followed God's laws and not let weakness of flesh and my own desires, my life would have been different. I also was letting my brother move in with me and with his 2 kids and my son. I rented this trailer, and he was an alcoholic and dabbled with drugs. Yeah, I was a new Christian, and God could do everything. My Creator could fix it all. I ended up kicking my brother out. I ended up telling her friends not to be there if I was not home, or I would put them in jail. I ended up slowly getting her down to 2.5 quarts of beer a day. I ended up having sexual relations with a woman that was still married. I ended up getting an addict pregnant. I was full of accomplishment. I never realized what I had done was wrong. I met a pastor who said, you were living in sin. My sister told me you took a man's wife. I read the Bible daily from Genesis to Revelations. I went to Maranatha Church, and she later had to go to Cornerstone Church. And funny thing was, I was teaching a Sunday school class at Maranatha on Proverbs in the Bible. See, I'm now realizing my mistakes because of the choices I was making. I would have major consequences in my life. I told you that I wanted to help her after she got pregnant. She was still drinking, so Brother Hall and I talked to her into going to rehab. She came out of rehab and later went back to drinking while pregnant. She took her prescribed medication, and when she hung out with her family and other addicts, she got worse. She never stopped smoking, or even while pregnant. I would beg the Creative Universe to spare my child, Catherine Nicole Reese's life, my angel, and after going to 2 rehabs, my daughter was born on June 6, 2007. We were still a family. Stephanie did not quit her prescribed medication while pregnant. She would sneak and drink whenever she could, and when her mother and her sister came around, they would upset her and her take her medicine and help her to drink for their own selfish needs. I still believe God would fix her. I now had a daughter in the second rehab I'd worked for once. I could see my wife's beautiful eyes because I had believed in faith that God would fix her. As time went on, we were happy. My daughter lived, and being so small at only 7 months, a preemie, chances of surviving was near to none. Even though my wife drank, took Xanax, Lortab, and Soma, and blood pressure medicine, my daughter was born, and no alcohol or drugs were in her system, which was truly a miracle. Me and my wife, Stephanie, would go see her once she was transported to Meridian from Jackson. She was a very special child, always smiling and trying to show Daddy that she could stand up. She refused to ever stay in a dirty diaper, even at 7 months old. We'd watch her be irritable till a week long, but when it came time for church, she would want to go and be excited that we were going. Stephanie was so happy with her. She would want everybody to see her, and she would eat, and she would look at her and thank God. I even let her mom visit an attic, and I watched when her mother got in the picture, how Stephanie would change. I was working for L3 Communication, and we were really happy for a few months. Someone had turned Stephanie in as a bad mother, and we were on DHS care till they told us otherwise. We would call her Nene, and she would smile. Her mother was staying at Joanne and Wendell Hawkins' home after they got out of prison. At the time, I did not know what would happen. My wife, Catherine, would go see her mom. I also met Wendell Hawkins, which loved to work. I met Joanne Hawkins, and I met Adam Hawkins. And they treated us like family in October. I cannot remember the date exactly. Joanne and Wendell treated me like family. And I loved to talk to Wendell because he knew the Bible. And he would let me pray before supper. At the time, I did not understand about demon possession and why people who are addicts are demon possessed. See, I always did not understand how someone that had addictions could be demon possessed. I also did not understand what could happen. You can be demon possessed by an object, by altering your mind with drugs. This includes alcohol, seances, witchcraft, black magic, and Ouija boards, to name a few. Evil spirits hate you. They blame you for being kicked out of heaven, for being disfigured by the creator of the universe. So in short, they will hate you for eternity. Here's the problem with this. You now know about demon possession and how they enter you. And stay here. What you do not know is why this is a problem for you. See, the best way I can explain this to you is evil seeps through the cracks. It will destroy anything around it. As you stay there, more and more bad things will happen. There is no boundaries for its reach. The reason this is so important is I watched it up close. See, Kathy was there. She started taking her prescribed medication again and therefore allowed the demons to enter her over time. I was sitting at the table because my wife and I would come over as much as possible to see Wendell, her mom, Aunt Joanne. They would treat her as family. I was at the table when Wendell, Joanne, and Stephanie was eating. When we were talking, that's when it was time to leave this world. For you ready. Remember, Wendell, Joanne, I know where I'm going, and when the creator of the universe sends for me home, I'm ready. The next day, Wendell and JJ went to a funeral. And me and my wife went there, spending the night with her mom and Joanne. Adam and my son Kyle was supposed to go. They had stayed up all night playing video games, so Wendell and JJ let them sleep. Well, Wendell and JJ was volunteer firemen, and so he was always listening to the police scanner. They went to the funeral, JJ and Wendell, and on the way to the funeral, on their way home, a young kid who was drinking and taking prescribed medication swerved into Wendell lane and hit him head on. Wendell lived, but JJ did not. At the time, Joanne was holding Catherine and almost dropped her when she heard those police at her, and that JJ was killed instantly, and her husband was in a coma. He would later die, but Joanne said that was the best because he would never have recovered knowing he lived and his son died. I remember my wife, uncle saying it was always happening in there. In threes. It's not done yet. My wife and I stayed with Joanne and Adam till they could cope with their loss.